Oh, seven Commanders, Ninebot here. Boy, has the Dodec roller coaster been fun over the past couple weeks, hasn't it? Fun in air quotes. I've alluded in a couple other videos that I would kind of talk about this, but I wanted to wait and see how things shook out. I don't like to do knee jerk reactions. And I'm kind of glad I did because it's only gotten weirder and stranger and more head scratching and just FDev, what are you doing? So, yeah, we get the Dodec space station announced. It's from the old games. It's a classic. It's cool. It's going to be in a new game. It looks great. It's a space dodecahedron. Who doesn't want that? Oh, wait. It's only available for ARC's purchase. Now, there was discussion back and forth at first. Is it going to be like the early access ships? No, it wasn't. It was actually intended as a one-time ARC's purchase, and you weren't going to be able to have access to it in game unless you spent money on it. Community exploded, and I think rightfully so. Um, and FDev backtracked, and it is now going to be available in a few months just in game. So that was fine. I mean, I'm okay with the early access ships. I'm okay with the early access space station, though not as much, and I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. I'm definitely not as okay with the space station as I am with the ships. And then they announced that they are happy with the state of colonization and it's coming out of beta. But oh wait, they don't tell us that they're gonna do a balancing pass and that they are going to just absolutely chop up everybody's systems with messing with subsequent facilities weighing and initial starport weighing, and you know everybody's worried that their economies are going to be devastated. And even before we have a server tick that updates for the week, everybody's losing their minds. And then have to have backtracks on that because of the massive blow up and drops some of the values. Like, for example, the most extreme one I think was wealth weighting went from minus 70% to minus 25%. And it's still affecting colonies. It definitely is, but not as badly. And we did get a little bit of explanation for it. I'll put it on the screen now. Paul Crowther, senior community manager, got on the forums on Wednesday and said they've been reviewing the recent balance changes, which are intended to address a background simulation issue in colonized system, where various variables for wealth, standard of living, developmental level, security, and tech level were often at the maximum values, with minimal facilities constructed and were in excess compared to existing bubble systems. Essentially, there he's saying that we were min maxing too much and we had systems that were wealthier and had more access to things than the big bubble systems that they handcrafted. Okay, I can kind of get that, but all of this, where am I going with this? Where are you going, Dunbot? All of this ties back into a couple things, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I've seen all of these reactions on Reddit and in the forums, and while there is one that I don't think is warranted, and yeah, I will mention it, and yes, I'm going to mock you guys ruthlessly because you deserve it. Um, there are two others that I do think are equally valid points. So, um, let's talk about the first one. That FDev is purposely seeing how far they can push the limits for quote whales uh, to buy things that are pay to win. So I'm tired of the pay to win label, but we can call it whatever we want. We can call it pay to win, pay for power, pay to skip the grind. There's no win state in this game unless it's PvP. So that argument, the pay to win versus pay to grind versus pay for power, whatever. All of you that argue back and forth about that, you're pedantic assholes, and you know you're being pedantic assholes. So that's my stance on that. I support the idea of microtransactions. I think we're getting a little egregious, is where I will agree with people about the whales. I don't think FDev is trying to find all the whales and find the limit, though. I think this is just poor messaging and poor marketing on their part, which brings me into the second thing that people think is going on here, and this we'll spend a little more time on, is that FDev is trying to find money to fund the game. Now, we've seen their financials, and they're not hurting. Elite brought in a bunch of money last year. That doesn't mean they don't still need money. I do think in some ways they are experimenting with the different types of microtransactions. See the HoloKit that came on the Prospector Type 11. I've seen a lot of negative feedback about that, but I also know there's probably plenty of people that bought it. And we'll never see the numbers because, and this goes across all topics, FDev's not transparent enough about certain things. But I think there is a little bit of, how do we say this? I think it's not quite accurate that they're trying to find ways to keep Elite running just from microtransactions. The company's doing fine. Elite brought in plenty of revenue. Well, I do think they are trying to see where they can monetize different things, and I think this was a very bad stumble for them. They shot themselves in the foot. They love to shoot themselves in the foot, and they've done it quite well with this, but I don't think they are maliciously seeking out whales and trying to see how much money they can milk out of them. That is very mobile gaming, and I don't think we're quite at that level yet. I'd like to believe we're not quite at that level yet. Maybe we're sliding that way and I'm too naive to see it, and maybe a bunch of you guys will tell me that in the comments, and that's fine, but I would like to believe that we're not going that way. Now, here's what I think really happened, and this is kind of the third argument that I've seen, although it's been getting shot down a lot because vocal minorities like to be vocal minorities and shout down anybody who doesn't agree with them. I think that this was an ill-thought-out decision with the station exclusivity. I think they didn't honestly expect the backlash. I think that the colonization nerf was something that they had intended all along, but because FDev does not like to communicate what happens in the background of the game, because they have a game that is built very well for min-maxing and have a community that loves to min-max, they do not like to make that data transparently available to us because they know we're going to min-max the hell out of it. See the statement from Paul Crowther that we had done just that, maximum values with minimal facilities constructed in excess compared to existing bubble systems. They have since pulled back those more egregious changes, and while we don't know exactly how things work, I have seen multiple theories and dug pretty deep into some forum posts and some raw numbers that some of these changes are barely enough to move the sliders in the neutral position on the background simulation, that we had min-maxed so far over some of the maximum values that this is a attempt to swing things back into a form of normalcy that actually makes sense. The biggest problem here, though, with all three scenarios is comes back to one thing. FDev doesn't communicate well enough. It is a huge bait and switch, I feel like, and a lot of people feel like it, to say we're fine with colonization and then we're going to bring it out of early access, beta, whatever, and then, boom, make massive changes to it. There's only one way you can really feel about that, and that's like it's a bait and switch. I certainly feel that way. I know plenty of other people feel that way. I had several people in my community on stream that are like, I'm done with colonization because they've completely nuked it. Now, I don't think they've completely nuked it, but I get that feeling, and it's hard not to feel that way when you're told that, hey, we think everything's fine, and you log in the next day, and everything is, from your perspective, fucking on fire. I'm glad that the community outcry was enough to make them step back. That tells me that they are at least still listening to community. We joke that they don't play the game, and sometimes I really think they don't, but somebody's damn sure listening to the community, because these two blow-ups and the quick turnaround on them absolutely show that. But this is a case of FDev shooting themselves in the foot twice in a week. And so what's my point here? My point here is that we need to realize that we as the community do actually have some power here. But we also need to realize that FDev is not, most likely, a malicious actor. They're just dumb sometimes, guys. And some of the stuff that I saw going back and forth in the Reddit is really unacceptable, the way people talk to each other sometimes, just as a community or just as general human beings. But it also shows that people care about this game, but we need to shy away from assigning them the most malicious of motivations. And God knows I have had plenty of bad things to say about FDev in the past. I can't believe I'm kind of white knighting for them a little bit, but they're not malicious. They're just dumb sometimes. They don't communicate well. They're not even good at communicating when they've listened to their fan base that well, because Even though we got a post, a lot of it was numbers. Um, they're just not good at it, guys. So, never assign to malice what is easily explained by stupidity. I think that sums up our last 2 weeks. We'll get the Dodec in the game for everybody in a couple months. I really don't like the fact that it offers up a service that you can't get any other way. I think that is egregious and needs to be fixed. There needs to be another way to gain those services at other stations. The fortunate thing is that it is accessible to all players, so pay to win, pay to grind, skip the grind, pay for power, whatever you want. That is, if it doesn't fall directly into that, it's skirting so dangerously close that it's leaning over the edge, staring into the void. I don't like that, and I think they need to step back from that, although I can't see another opportunity for them to really do this with colonization. But they need to smarten up with the way that they approach this stuff and communicate this stuff. I understand not wanting to show us all of the background numbers because, by God, we will manipulate the hell out of them. That's what this player base does, but a little less stupidity and a little more smart communication would go a long ways. I haven't seen the community this rolled up about things in a while. This is going to take a little while to die down. FDev, I have no reason to think that you guys will listen to this video, but if you do, just smarten up a little bit, guys. We love the game. We love playing the game. Just think about the way you communicate. Nobody likes being blindsided, and you did it to us twice. That's a lot of trust that you've damaged, so maybe think about that. I don't know, guys. I think that's about all I've got to say. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride. Leave your thoughts below. 07, guys. I'm Dimebot. I'll see you guys later.